I'm recording this lecture, and all these lectures will be recorded. I'll talk about, where you can find that stuff. It should be pretty easy to keep straight. But today I'm just going to go through the structure of the class, go through the syllabus, where to find stuff, where to find assignments, how to submit assignments, that kind of stuff. We're not going to get into any statics yet today. So we'll start like material on Wednesday, but I am going to give you a little assignment of something to read and then some problems to do before Wednesday. Okay, so everything in this class is going to be given on D2L. So D2L is, home base. And to get to D2L, anyone who's been at Normandale is used to it. But if you go to the main Normandale webpage, go up here to current students, and then D2L pops up. Click on that. To sign in, you'll need your star ID and a password. You can come talk to me after class if you don't know your star ID or you haven't logged in yet, and I can get you pointed in the right direction with that. It autofills once you've done it before. And so here we are, and we're fall 2024. So this is what should pop up when you go into D2L, just all the classes that you're taking this semester. And this is statics. And when you get into the D2L page, the main D2L page for each class, the first thing you'll see is announcements. And anytime I give an assignment or I want to remind you of a test coming up or something like that, I'm going to put something in the announcement. So just get used to checking that every day and just see what's new, okay? Pretty much all the materials for the class are in content. And there's some stuff in there now. So you can see, like, right now, the syllabus is there. That's what we're going to spend most of the time on today. A vector review, and then just some miscellaneous stuff that we'll talk about more as we get closer to it. So everybody is going to need to have some kind of graphing calculator, a calculator that solves systems of equations, something, TI calculators are what most people use, but other companies make ones that are perfectly good. And so we'll talk about that more as we get there, but this just gives you some programs that you can enter by hand that can make stuff a little quicker. And this is just TI-89 programs, but I also have some for, I think, 83, 84, 86, pretty much Inspire, like pretty much most TI calculators. If you want to enter these programs to shorten some of your calculations, that information is on here. And then assignments. So every class period, after every class period, I'm going to give you some problems to work on. And those are due for the next class period. And those are pretty much all listed here. I mean, I might change some things as the class goes on, but like you can go to, so let's say, go to this and it gives you problems 1 through 15. And so when I give you the assignment, I'll say like, okay, today's assignment is rigid body statics numbers 4 through 8. And so you would go to these assignments, go to rigid body statics, and then do problems 4 through 8 on this assignment. To turn these assignments in, and to turn in any assignments, go to Assessments, Assignments, and there are no folders here yet, but the folders will be up there once I assign these things. And you'll submit a photo or a scan of your work. Okay, so you're not going to hand me hard copies of stuff. You're just going to submit stuff online. It makes it a lot easier for me to keep stuff in order and things like that. It would be very nice if instead of submitting, so say you have 3 pages of homework that you're turning in, it'd be very nice if you could find a way to get those into a single document so I don't have to open each one individually. So if you're having trouble figuring out how to do that, let me know. I mean, there are plenty of like phone apps and stuff that'll let you do that. But this is how you're going to submit all your assignments. There are also solutions to these assignment problems, and I think it's not all solutions to everything. It's just solutions to like selected problems. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is free body diagrams. Let me see a different one. So rigid body statics. So this is, we know there's 15 of those problems. Let's see how many solutions are up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 8. So yeah, there's not solutions to everything, just kind of a selection of them. When I tried to do it so like the ones that don't have solutions are ones that where you've done similar ones to that already, and the ones with new stuff in them, I have solutions available. The idea of posting those solutions is that you try to do the problem without looking at the solution. And then you just use the solution either if you get stuck on the problem and you need a hint for how to get going, or if you get done and you want to check your work, you know. And so these daily assigned problems I'm going to give, since there's a lot of solutions posted and stuff, I don't really grade these. I just make sure you turn them in and do the work. This is just kind of how you're building those skills. Also, at the start of every class period, I'll ask if anybody wants to see any of the problems that I assigned that day. And I'm always happy to start class by going through problems. You know, if people have questions about all of the ones I've assigned, I might not do all of them. But for the most part, I mean, I'm happy to show you how to do any of these daily problems. So feel free to ask me about that, or if I don't get it done in class and you want to see one, come to office hours or send me an email or something, you know, and I can tell you how to do that. And then lecture notes by topic. So there are a couple of resources that I have for you if you want to like study ahead or you want a different look at something I talked about in class. So I think these are just notes from lectures that I did in a previous semester, but it's all broken down by topic. So if you want to see, you know, a different semester's take on the moment produced by a couple, you can look at that and see my notes. Also, for statics, I don't have this for any other class, but in statics, I've written kind of like my version of a textbook. So if you got a statics textbook and read through all these topics, I teach statics in a really different way than the classes that I've seen. I think it's a better way. I mean, my feedback from students is they like this way of doing it. It's sort of been developed over, you know, I've been teaching at colleges for 20 or so years, you know, so like little by little, I've been like, I think this works better. I think this works better. And this is kind of what I've settled on at this point. But, you know, so you've always just had to go based on my notes. But in statics now, I have basically chapters of like a textbook. So if you want to read a little bit more of like a textbook, like a full wordy version of all these things, you can click on one of these things, and this is just my like complete version of the way I do things in the lecture. I think if you were watching my lectures and then trying to go and follow what's going on from a different textbook, it would be confusing because it's just a whole different approach. But here you have like everything available to you. I wish I could do that for every class. Maybe eventually I will be able to, but I did this on a sabbatical a few years ago. Look how nice that is. I just want to keep looking at this. Okay, so that's everything that's in there right now. And so let's just start going through the syllabus of the class. Anybody have any questions yet about any of this? Okay, so the syllabus is here. Okay, it's a 3-credit class, so we meet for 1-hour chunks 3 times a week. This is all the class information. This is my office number. Well, actually, that's going to change as the semester goes on because of construction or whatever. But really, I don't use my office much anyways. All of my office hours are going to meet in the Normandale Tutoring Center. So that just makes it possible for me to talk to more than one student at once. How many people have had semesters at Normandale before this? Everybody. Okay. Does everyone know where the tutoring center is? It's the in the center of the 2nd floor, the big with the glass walls. That's the tutoring center. And I'm going to do all my office hours in that room. And so that means I'll be sitting at a big table, and there'll be other students there, hopefully often. And you're welcome to show up without any questions at all and just think of it as like a study hall. Just sit at the table or sit at a different table, work on problems, and then I'm there. If something comes up that you get confused about, there's hopefully other students there who you can talk to. So that's the format. Just think of it as like, you can just show up without any agenda at all, and then if questions come up, I'm just there to answer questions. Okay, I was going to say something else, but I don't remember what. Here's my email and my phone number. You can get a hold of me through email, but I have found that a better way to contact me is through the D2L instant messaging. So instant messaging on D2L, if you go to D2L, no matter what page you're on D2L, it's this thing right here. Okay. And so click on that, send me a message through that. And it's just a lot easier, I find. Well, I guess on email, sometimes it'll happen that I'll get a bunch of emails, and like maybe I'll read your email, like, okay, I got to look at something before I answer that, if it's a question about grades or whatever, like, okay. So I'll plan on getting back to it, but then more emails come in and then I forget about it. And so this way I find I can just systematically go through them and I never really miss anything, or at least I miss a lot less than I do on email. So this is the way to get a hold of me. It's pretty foolproof. I skipped this one. The prerequisites for the class are Physics 1 with Calculus and Calculus 1. I've talked to 1 or 2 people in this class who, they're something didn't work uh, with their transcript, and so they needed my permission to get into the class. Um, if you haven't had these and you need my permission to get into the class, come talk to me. And most likely, I think this is a fairly self-contained class as long as you've taken some version of Physics 1 and you've taken Calculus 1. I'm pretty willing to let people into this class. Materials needed. You need a graphing calculator. If you're in the market for a new calculator, you might as well get one that does eigenvalues and eigenvectors. We're not using those in this class, but starting very soon, basically every engineering class you have after this is going to use eigenvalues and eigenvectors. So it's a nice thing to have in front of you for tests and stuff. There are no textbooks required. I don't really make that super clear here in the syllabus, and that's just for transfer purposes, really. Like I said, this class doesn't really follow any commercially available textbooks that closely. So really, I feel like trying to follow along in a textbook besides the one that I posted would really just make this class more confusing. But if you're interested, so basically this first textbook is listed here just so that when departments contact me about transfers that and I send them the syllabus, they see that this is the class that this is the material that I'm covering. But it really isn't that great a reference for what we're doing because it talks about everything in pretty different ways. It's, this class will teach you to do all the same stuff, just with some sort of different approaches. The one that's really useful, though, is this one. If you are interested in a book for looking at this class for future reference, maybe you want to go back and work on problems later on if you're getting ready for like a standardized engineering exam, like if you're planning to get a professional engineer's degree or something eventually. This is such a great resource, and they make these Shams outlines for every technical class you'll take. They're paperback books that cost like $20, and they have millions of not millions, but lots of problems in them. And the problems most of them have solutions. The ones that don't have solutions at least have answers, so you can check your work. In my opinion, I would just get in the habit of buying the Shams outline for every class you take. It's just such a nice thing to have. And they're not as fully worded as a textbook. They're sort of more concise descriptions intended for people who've already taken the class, and it's just kind of a refresher. But I have learned topics from Shams outlines, and so I just think they're great. I have a whole basement full of these. Anybody have any questions about the calculator or books or anything like that? So the take-home message here is this is for the people who ask me for a syllabus, other universities or whatever. You can kind of ignore that. This is the textbook they use for this class at the University of Minnesota. This is the one that I think would be useful to get possibly. But it wouldn't be useful for this class. In this class, just go based on what I say, what I post. If you don't understand something, come talk to me about it. Don't try to get it from another source, because I think you'll just find that's kind of confusing, In this class, just think of like the class as self-contained. Okay. And then here's some stuff. We'll talk about all this later, but these are the topics that we'll cover in this class. The grade scale, is basically 90, 80, 70, 60. Sometimes that'll be relaxed a little bit if, like, for example, if I give an exam or two that ends up being harder than I meant it to be, and so everybody's grades are a little down, maybe I'll curve the grades a little bit. But for the most part, I find this to be like, I don't know when the last time was that I had to curve this class. Like, it's a pretty reasonable. Um, and I don't know, maybe you've had classes before where you've had tests where the class average is 65 and then it gets curved from there or whatever. I just don't give tests like that. So that's why this is a pretty good grading scale for my class. I mean, the questions I give, I don't, yeah, the questions I give on tests are just, it's like if you know the steps from doing the homework for doing these problems, you'll see the questions and say, like, that looks very familiar to what I've done in my homework. And then, so people tend to score pretty well on these. There'll never be a test where the class average is 60 or whatever. The grade breakdown. So here are the pieces that go into this. Hopefully they add up to 100. It looks like they do. So lecture quizzes are 5%. And after I talk about the breakdown, I'll go into what all these things are. But lecture quizzes, 5%. Daily assignments, 5%. Weekly assignments, 20%. And then exams are 70. If I totally had my preference, exams would not be weighted that heavily. But since COVID, there's been just this explosion of online resources, and it's easy now to go online and find solutions to any problem you want. And if you can't find it, it's easy to ask for it on using AI, ChatGPT or something, or websites like Chegg or Course Hero, and so this is just the way it just has to be weighted more heavily towards in-class exams, because that's sort of becoming the only thing you can really trust that much, unfortunately. Like I said, I mean, I know that makes some people nervous because some people feel like they don't show their best ability in an in-class test. I know that's true. But I will say that my tests are pretty similar to the homework. I think of those tests as mainly just testing how much you've figured out from the homework. I'm not trying to make you think a ton on the spot. I'm just trying to make you show the process that you've kind of ingrained. So, yeah, question.
Do you do partial credits?
Oh, yeah. Tons. I mean, in fact, if you get the wrong answer and do all the steps right and your only mistakes I consider to be, algebra mistakes or something I'm not too worried about, you can get full points on a problem without even getting the right answer sometimes, Any other questions about the grade breakdown before I go into what these individual parts of the grade are? Okay. So the two lowest stakes items are lecture quizzes and daily assignments. So the first one, lecture quizzes. So not today, obviously. We haven't talked about any material yet, but most Monday classes, or maybe half the Monday classes, or maybe a little less than half of the Monday classes, are going to end with a 15-minute quiz. And the basic idea is, I'm saying this stuff in class, you're taking notes on it. I just want to make sure that you're going back and rereading your notes from time to time. I mean, I think really you should consider that part of what you're doing is, so you're taking your notes, and then every once in a while, I think you should just be going back, skimming through your notes. You're just trying to ingrain all this material in your head, And by the way, I consider the way I do classes as kind of like a trade-off, you know, like if you take a class with a 500-page textbook, and maybe your instructor is assigning you 30 pages between classes of a textbook to read, you know, um, and you're doing that over and over again. I mean, by the end of the semester, you can't remember everything that you've read in this textbook. It's just too much material, you know? And so the trade-off for me is like, okay, I've cut out a bunch of the details that I'm totally not expecting you to worry about at all. I've done my best to boil this class down to the things that I think are really essential, you know. The trade-off is, so I've cut down the amount of material that you're responsible for a ton. The trade-off is I expect you to remember the stuff better that I do give you, you know. And the way to do that is to just keep skimming through your notes, you know. Just keep going back and skimming through your notes. And so the way I'm encouraging you to do that is that every couple of Mondays at the end of class, I'm going to give you a quiz that asks you, like, say, 6 or so short answer questions about stuff I've said in lecture. It's no calculations or anything. It's just in 3 dimensions. How many equations, useful equations, do we get from Newton's laws? Something like that. Okay. It's stuff we've talked about in class. And if you're going back and reading your notes and trying to remember this stuff, you know, you'll know the answers to most of them. And so this is just how I'm encouraging you to go back and look at stuff. I mean, I think a lot of the way I structure this class really is kind of like a reaction to mistakes I felt like I made in college, and where stuff that I'm sort of like, oh man, why didn't anyone just tell me? Or, you know, like I would take notes on stuff, and then I would basically not look at it again until the day before the test or whatever, you know. And it's just, there's so much more efficient ways to store information in your brain than that. And so I'm just trying to encourage you to do it in an efficient way, you know. Okay, so say that there are 5 to 8 lecture quizzes, 5% of your grade. Obviously, none of those quizzes are worth very much of your grade, but if you lose 5%, you know, it has a big effect on your grade. So, you know, you'd like to do well on those, all things being equal. Any questions about the quizzes? The next one is daily assignments. So those are the assignments I'm going to give you at the end of class every day, and they're due, you know, basically by the next class. For everything that I assign, I'll give a due date, and then I'll also say, like, okay, well, if, you know, things come up in your life, if you can't get it done by the due date, which would be ideal, you can turn it in up to 24 hours later, and I'll still grade it, you know. But it works best if you have a way to get this stuff done by the next class. You know, that's how it works best, because you'll be the most ready for the new information that I'm giving in the next class, you know. These daily assignment problems are what I consider to be the class, kind of, you know. Like, if you ask me what this class is, I would say understanding these, I don't know how many this is. Let's say 10 questions per problem set here. So let's say 90 questions. This class is about these 90 problems, and just getting to the point where you could explain how to do these problems to someone who was confused on them, you know. That isn't really reflected in the grade so much. But that's because your understanding of those daily assignments is going to trickle through every other graded assignment in this class, you know. If you understand these daily assignment problems well, you're going to do well on the weekly assignments and the exams. And that's what most of your grade is, you know. the weekly assignments and the exams, those questions are very similar to these daily assignments. Let's see. I will drop the 2 lowest daily assignment scores. Oh, the lowest 2 quiz scores will be dropped. And the lowest 2 daily assignment scores will be dropped. Basically, so, okay, you can miss 2 of these assignments and it won't affect your grade, although you're still going to be responsible for that material, obviously. You can miss 2 of these lecture quizzes and it won't affect your grade. You know, that's basically for absences. Just because life happens, you know, but and then next 20% of your grade is these weekly assignments. I'll drop the 1 lowest weekly assignment score. And so these are basically like collections of daily assignment problems. I'll give you a full week to work on them so you can fit them into your schedule wherever it works best for you. There are no solutions available, unlike the daily problems. So this is just really testing your ability to do these problems. I said the thing about Chegg and ChatGPT and stuff like that. Like, okay, I can tell when someone in my class is not doing these problems because I teach these with sort of distinctive approaches, you know. So like if you're turning in stuff that's done by someone on Chegg or whatever, I can see that it's not done by someone who took my class, you know. And if I grade a weekly assignment and I can tell that someone in my class didn't do it, I usually look around on the internet in the usual spots to see if I can find that solution. And if I find where it was copied from, then I think of that as just straight cheating. If I can't figure out where it's from, then I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say like, okay, I'm not calling this cheating, but you're going to have to show me, you know, how to do this stuff, you know. So we'll have to meet in person or whatever. But anyways, all of that is just saying, just don't cheat. Anytime you use ChatGPT, anytime you go to Chegg, I consider that just like a violation of the spirit of this class. Like, I know those websites would be like, oh yeah, there's valid reasons to use these to like, not in this class, you know. I give you the solutions I want you to have solutions for. I don't give you the solutions to the ones I don't want you to have solutions for. So just don't go to those websites, okay? One thing about the weekly assignment. So I said that I really encourage you to go back regularly, reread through your notes and stuff like that. These weekly assignments, I'm going to keep assigning problems to old sections. You know, it's not just going to like move with the class. Like in later weekly assignments, I'm still going to be giving you problems from the first couple weeks of class and the 4th week of class and stuff like that, just because the way to remember all of this material is to keep going through all of the material, you know, and that's my strategy with this. So you can think of these as sort of like cumulative, like a final usually is in a class, you know, like it's not just what we covered in the last week, it's the whole course up to that point. Anybody have any questions about weekly assignments? These are not, so you can talk to each other about these weekly assignments. You can get hints from each other on these, you know, figure out how to do them together. The only thing that you need to do is the solution that you turn into me needs to be your own solution. So you can talk to people, figure out how you're going to approach it, but then you have to go by yourself and do this problem on your own. Okay, to me, that's what it means to understand how to do the problem and to turn in work that's your own. Okay, so it's not like you have to keep silent about this as you're going on. Feel free to talk to each other. Feel free to ask me. I mean, I'll give you little hints if you get stuck on these problems. I won't go through full solutions, but I'll give you little hints or whatever. Okay, and then the exams. There's 4 exams. Each one is worth 17.5% of your grade. Each exam is cumulative, just like the weekly assignments. So again, the exams aren't just what we studied since the last exam. It goes all the way back to the beginning. Okay. The one little sort of the mulligan that I give you is if you get a bad score on one of your first 3 exams, and then your last exam, your final is a higher score than that one, then that final will count as the final, and it'll also replace your earlier worst score, you know. So for one thing, that's like if you miss a test, you don't expect to, and somehow you just don't get there, then that's the way that test gets made up. Okay, it just gets the score of your final, and then also if you just like, wow, I didn't study the right stuff, or I didn't manage to study for that one or enough or whatever, that's a way to replace a bad score. I will give makeup exams at times, but we need to talk about it before the test, and agree on how we're going to do it. The dates of all of these tests are given here. I didn't tell you the date of the scheduled final, but that's already published, so I can get that for you. But all the other ones, these are the days. So get that in your calendars. I'll try to remember to warn you about it in the week and classes coming up, and put it on D2L and stuff. But it is all right here already. Anybody have any questions about the exams? Okay. So now the cheating policy is basically like, oh my God, Chegg and ChatGPT are ruining my life. Please don't go to those websites. So yeah, if I feel just absolutely convinced that you cheated and I know how you cheated, you just get an F in the class, and if I'm suspicious of your work, and when I say suspicious, I don't think I'm like seeing, like ghosts around every corner or anything. I mean, I think like if I'm suspicious that you cheated, something is fishy about how you did your work, then I'll have you, we'll have to talk about it, and you'll have to convince me that it's actually your work. Like, no, I really did go to this video I really was confused about how to do this and went to this YouTube video and learned this technique, and it made more sense to me, and that's how I do it. And like, and you show me how you did it and whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But please don't cheat. That's all. It's most of a problem. We've increased our online classes so much recently, and it's just such a mess. I mean, I hate online classes. Okay. Anybody have any questions about why I don't want people to cheat? Okay. And then the rest of the syllabus, there's a whole bunch more, but it's really just stuff that's for like administrators and stuff. There are some resources here if you want to. It wouldn't hurt to just scroll through this and see if there's anything useful for you. Here's an AI thing, Americans with Disabilities Act, Title IX. One thing that it looks like I do not have mentioned in here is, oh, I guess it's mentioned here. We have a really big and good office for students with disabilities, OSD office. And so if you suspect that you might be someone who needs more time on exams, or like you think you would benefit from having a quiet space to take exams or something like that, you should just call them or go over to this office. They're so nice to work with, so helpful. So yeah, that's a great resource. And I work with them with students all the time. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Well, I am going to give you an assignment for today. I'll put it up on D2L. You don't have to write this down now, but here is what it's going to be. I'm going to ask you to read this vector review, and then I'm going to have you do problems 1 through 7, I think it is, from vectors. Okay? So that's in assignments. Go to vectors. You can see, I think there's 21 of these questions, and you're just going to do 1 through 7. Okay. And when you're done with it, take pictures of your work or scan it in a scanner, and then you're going to put it in the appropriate folder here. And I guess let me just make this folder now so you can see what it looks like. So this is going to say assigned on, what is it, the 26th, Monday, 8/26. Okay. And the due date is going to be Wednesday. The due date is always going to go up until midnight of the day that it's due. If you can do it before class, that would be helpful for you, I think. But you always have until midnight. The end date is always going to be 1 day later than that, at midnight, 24 hours later. And this is going to be under the category daily assignments. And then you can turn this in as a PDF, a JPEG, TIFF file, BMP, or a Word doc. And so there it is. So you'll just go to daily assignments, open this folder, drop your photo or scan in that folder, and then I'll and yeah, okay. So that's it for today. For the assignment for today. Anybody have any questions that I haven't addressed about the structure of the class or anything like that? Yes.
Do you think like online videos or other textbooks would be counterproductive?
I do think it would be counterproductive. Yes, I think so. And I know in a lot of cases it's very helpful, and I go to YouTube for videos too. But it's only counterproductive because I feel like because I teach things in a way that's enough different that you'll just be like, it'll be hard to connect the 2 points, you know? Yeah. But I will say that, so you might be asking yourself, like, why do I do stuff different than the textbooks do? And like a lot of the techniques that I'm going to show you, here's the basic idea is that the way statics is taught in university classes is pretty much the way it was taught in the 1950s. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's all based on the ability to do your calculations by hand with a pencil, okay? But now we've gone through the computer age. We all have these incredible calculators that do all this stuff. There's a lot more intuitive, streamlined ways to do these problems using computers or calculators. And so essentially, like I'm just trying to teach you the way where you can see a problem and get your calculator out of your bag and have this problem done completely in, you know, the quickest, most efficient way and most intuitive, understanding way to that I can. And the techniques that I'm going to show you actually work on more problems than the standard approach. We'll see that when we get to structures where you're trying to calculate reaction loads between like a bunch of bars that are put into like a jungle gym or whatever. The techniques that are taught in university textbooks leave a lot of those kind of problems out. There's no way to calculate those things. So I'm going to give you a general approach that'll work for every kind of problem, and you treat every kind of problem the same, and it's just pretty much win-win as far as I can tell. So, yes?
Calculators like the TI-89 or even above will be allowed on exams?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Any kind of calculator you can use on an exam.
You said you had programs for like TI-83s and 12s.
Yes, and that is on in the statics textbook. Here's where those are. Okay, I exaggerated. It looks like only 84 and 89. But a lot of the syntax is similar for 83 and 86 to what it is for 84. Anyways, I've used all these calculators a lot. So if you have a different one and you can't figure out, you want to enter a program and you can't figure out how to get it entered in yours, I can show you how to do it. 83s, 86s, 84s, 89s, Inspires. I've used all those a lot and programmed in all of those enough to show you. Want to hear something funny? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A student, so it's really in D form in the spring where you really need to have a bunch of these programs entered into your calculator. And so at the start of the class, we spend a good bit of, like in statics, you don't really have to enter any of these if you don't want to. But in D form, so we spend a good bit of like the first week making sure everyone has the programs that they need. And so I said what kind of calculators people needed. People came back for the second class, and somebody came with a used calculator that they'd bought at Pon America. And they're like, can you help me enter these programs? And we went to programs and they were all entered. Like someone from my class had sold their calculator to Pon America. So that's what you should try to find if you can. Okay, that is all. So feel free to contact me, D2L instant message or email, and I'll see you on Wednesday. And look on D2L for the assignment. Okay. Hi.